Chair recognizes Leader Lou Lane. Can we get everyone's attention in the body, please? Can we get everyone's attention in the chamber? Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. We are all proud Americans. We value our freedoms. We value our country. We value the government institutions that govern us. And so I found it particularly appalling and upsetting over the last couple of weeks of some of the things that have been going on in our nation's capital. 2 weekends ago, a ban was put into place relative to certain people who wanted to come to our country. All of them had been vetted through a system that has been worked on for many years. Many of them were actually legal residents of Illinois. Even a couple of citizens of Illinois got caught up in the mix. And this was visited by large cities all over America, where we at large portions of that weekend saw on our TVs huge numbers of people gathering because many people were detained at many of our nation's airports. Even when asked about this over that weekend, members of the Trump administration on television talk shows like Meet the Press and Face the Nation could not even answer simple questions about whether those that had green cards were included, whether they were not included, who was not included, who does this apply to, who does it not apply to. And it left us with a mess in our country, and more than the mess, it left us with an appalling view of our own country that has welcomed immigrants into our country for many years, hundreds of years, that has welcomed the diversity in our nation. I would tell you that of all of the 118 House districts in the state of Illinois, I come from the most diverse district. There are 80 plus languages spoken in my district. And so you can imagine the consternation among my constituents when the President of the United States simply shut down this process of immigration to this country, legal immigration, and basically laid upon us what many have called a Muslim ban. Now, many say it isn't, but clearly there's a tinge of religious persecution and discrimination involved in the president's edict, an edict that was not thought out well, an edict that has been interpreted by one court and another court. The most recent judge that pontificated about this and stopped this process was called a so-called judge by the President of the United States, thereby showing his total disdain for the different branches of government. This unfortunate and, in my view, disgusting executive order issued by our new president cannot go as unnoticed. People were hurt by this. Residents, legal residents of our own state were hurt by this. Our economy was hurt by this. The view of the United States and the entire world was damaged by this executive order. And many of us stayed silent while this was going on. Many of us did not. The governor of the state of Illinois, while this was going on, was sipping wine in California with the Koch brothers and said nothing about the obsession by the President of the United States of America in his zeal to keep us safe, made us actually less safe. On the same weekend, the president announced that we were now going to build that famous wall between our country and the sovereign nation of Mexico. And if that wasn't bad enough, because as you know, we already have a wall separating the United States from Mexico. If that wasn't bad enough, the president said, well, we're going to get the Mexican government to pay for it. And when the Mexican government laughed in the president's face, the president said, well, we'll just put a 20% tariff on all the goods, thereby starting a trade war, thereby raising the price of products that American citizens buy, and thereby costing us thousands of American jobs. What is he thinking? What is his goal? How isolationist should we be in the process of improving our country, which we all want to do? I think it bears some thought. I think it bears some thought that the President of the United States, in his campaign, referred to many of the people that come from Mexico as rapists. I think it bears repeating that the President of the United States has a great disdain for that kind of immigration into this country. And if that weren't enough, at the same time this was going on, World Holocaust Remembrance Day took place. And on World Holocaust Remembrance Day, the State Department had prepared a statement for the White House to issue. And the White House did not issue that statement before they first scrubbed it of any reference to Jews, scrubbed it of any reference to the Jewish people, scrubbed it of any reference to the reason for the Holocaust. As you know, the White House has brought on as a very important, close consultant advisor to the president a gentleman named Steve Bannon, a white supremacist from the alt-right, who has been known to make anti-Semitic comments. And you just know his fingers were on that release as it came out of the White House, as they said to the world that Jews were really not at the core of the Holocaust, and that the 6 million people who were brought to death by Hitler and the Nazis during the Holocaust were not personally and culturally sought out for destruction, to destroy an entire religion, an entire race of people. The president's acts by doing that and listening to his alt-right advisor, a white supremacist, Mr. Bannon, said to all of us, Jews no longer matter in the White House. And so put all of this together. Immigrants don't matter in the White House. Jews don't matter in the White House. Muslims don't matter in the White House. All that's right and good about the United States of America no longer matters in the White House under President Donald Trump. And so we have to ask the question, what does matter? Security at what cost? The alt-right agenda at what price to American citizens? Most of it is in this room. In fact, if you go back far enough, all of us in this room come from immigrants. And yet, the Donald Trump White House would have you believe that immigrants are the cause of every problem in society that we face today. I'm here to tell you that's not true. I'm here to tell you on behalf of my constituents and on behalf of your constituents that they don't believe that. That they believe that this is a country that's welcoming, a country that's open, a country that believes in the diversity of man the diversity of mankind, and the cultural desire to make America their home because this is the place they want to live. To say to Illinois residents who are legal, you can't get off a plane at O'Hare and go home, is beyond any thought that any of us could ever have. And those who do not speak out against this are the problem. Those who do not speak out against this injustice add to the injustice. And I want to read something that was spoken during World War II. During World War II, as Hitler was gathering up Jews for extermination, a minister named Martin Niemöller, who was admittedly at one time in his life anti-Semitic and later changed his mind, recanted, and realized his terrible error, said this: "First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." Ladies and gentlemen, we have a responsibility to speak out. We have a responsibility to speak up. We have a responsibility to speak truth. And we have a responsibility to stand up and say what's right and protect people in this country and protect people that want to be among us legally and freely to add to the richness of America. To say to Muslims and Jews and those who want to legally be among us, "You are not welcome here," is part of a national effort that we must stop. And we must speak out, and we must do this together. I urge all of you to join me in speaking out against the national travesty that has come out of the White House over the last couple of weeks. Thank you.